Good afternoon and welcome to the Sound United CEDIA 2019 booth. And we're here to talk about wireless distribution of high audio music and try to provide you with some tips and tricks to maximize your installs as well as improve its reliability. So joining me from Luxul is Ryan Harder. So what do you do, Ryan?
I'm one of the national trainers at Luxul. There are two of us there, myself and Jared Edwards, and travel around, train people on the importance of the network, and today, of course, with audio and everything else there.
Okay, and also I have Tom Ercolino. And Tom, what do you do for Sound United?
I'm a member of the dealer CI support team, so I support all the dealers and installers that install our products. I used to be an installer myself, so I know what it's like to be out there.
Okay, so he knows your pain. Tom and Mike are there to help support you when it comes to setting up your systems, whether it's a RS-232 control, Wi-Fi questions, and things like that. And the reason why we're doing this panel is as you start adding wireless high-quality music beyond the small MP3 files into high-res uncompressed audio, the bandwidth requirements on your systems are going to continue to increase. So we want to make sure that you're prepared and you have the tips and tricks you need to maximize the reliability of that system. So Ryan, if we were talking about high-res files, and I want to do a couple of zones, what's the bandwidth requirement for something like that?
Well, generally you're going to start at 5 megabits for one zone, right? You're going to add multiple zones to that. Well, guess what? Now you're planning on 5 to 10 megs per zone, or 2.5 additional to that 5 megs per zone. You start adding that up, 3, 4, 5 zones, you're at 15, 20 megs, almost the same as 4K Netflix, you know what I mean? So it adds up, it stacks up very, very quickly.
Yes, and that's not even counting if your kid is on his iPad and someone else is streaming 4K music. So the bandwidth requirements get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, I also noticed this, you can have 1 gig or 400 megabits coming, megs coming into the house, but the second you go Wi-Fi, what happens?
Well, I mean, you're not gonna get a gig on Wi-Fi, right? You're not pulling a gig on Wi-Fi. That's not gonna happen. And so, you're looking at now you have another limiting factor, not just the latency introduced and things like that. Generally, audio you're okay, but you are not going to get a gig on Wi-Fi. You're going to get 300 megs, 400 megs, maybe if you have a really, really well-designed system and a good device.
So there's always going to be a drop
Absolutely.
when you go to Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So rule number 1, if you can pull a wire,
please pull a wire.
Pull a wire. Okay. So the first thing, wire as many zones as you possibly can using a wire. Then we could talk about how to maximize the wireless experience.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're calling Tom saying, I have 15 zones and they're dropping out and I don't know why. When I'm sure it's probably a pretty popular multiple zone call for you.
Exactly, that's right.
Yeah, so the next thing is besides pulling a wire, we have these bandwidth requirements. We also have coverage requirements. A lot of times, one router in the corner of the house is not going to cover a large home and outdoors. Okay, so there's multiple options. There's mesh, Wi-Fi repeaters, and access points. So Ryan, can you explain the pros and cons of each of those?
Yeah, so I'll start working backwards from kind of where you were. Wi-Fi repeaters, the thing to realize about Wi-Fi repeaters, they're really, really easy, right, to kind of extend coverage into an area that you don't have coverage. Well, that's great, but you lose a lot of bandwidth through those. Generally speaking, at least half of your wireless bandwidth you're going to lose through a Wi-Fi repeater. Technology's getting better, but you're going to lose a lot of that bandwidth going through there, and introducing more latency, and introducing another frequency, and add, right? So, it's really, really easy. It's very simple. You plug it into a wall outlet, and anybody can put it in and set it up, but it's definitely not the best option, right? You're losing a lot of performance there. When you go to a hardwired AP, you have a hardline connection from your router, your rack, your wherever that is, to that access point. So you only have your Wi-Fi hop from your phone or that wireless zone to that AP, run, and then a hardwire back to your rack, right, or back to your main network. So that's going to be, generally speaking, that's going to be your most stable Wi-Fi environment, right? Is having a hardwire. Again, like you said, you are always going to be better off hardwiring something. So wireless repeater, not hardwired, you got a hardwired AP, right? Then you have these, mesh systems. And of course there's so many of them out there. And kind of the same thing as with the repeaters, they're really, really simple. Anybody can put them in, anybody can install it. They're usually done off of an app or whatever. You plug it into a wall outlet, you do a couple things on an app, you scan a QR code and move them the right distance apart, right? But you still have the same thing. You're still introducing latency, you're still introducing more broadcasts, right? And you're still not hardwired. Every time that you go another hop on that mesh node, you are losing throughput through that. You're losing bandwidth. So you get the coverage, but you do lose some of the bandwidth through that as well.
Yeah, so I'll give you a real quick tip, especially using something like a HEO system. Never, ever, 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 ever use a Wi-Fi repeater. Simple as that. Why? Because you'll be calling him. A lot of times a HEO system can move up and down between bandwidths, 5 gig and 2.4. The problem with most of the Wi-Fi repeaters is, say the main network is named Tori. Well, the Wi-Fi repeater can't be named Tori, it'll be named Bob. So now all of a sudden, it's looking for Tori and it's seeing Bob, and it's just this problem. If you have an access point, guess what? All of the wireless in the house is Bob. All of the 2.4 is Bob. It'd be smart to have the 2.4 line channel and the 5 gig channel both be named Bob. So it will pick 5 where there's less traffic, like your microwave is not there. And then if it can't choose 5, it'll go to 4. Now, the first thing I'll tell you, if you're going to name both the 5 gig and the 2.4 gig the same, Tom, what should they never ever do?
Yeah, you don't want to use the ISP routers. They just can't handle that constant switching. The device will be online, so you don't notice a problem, but your app device can't discover it properly. It'll fall off the app. That's when you want to recommend a higher end router, like a Luxul. But we see it a lot where ISP routers just cannot handle that.
Yeah, it's simple.
Budget routers as well.
The one that they get from the cable company, don't use.
Right.
Okay, put it away. Tell the customer you want reliability, you want performance. That's the first thing we're going to do is they'll get rid of that. You're already paying $9 a month for it, so this router costs more. Within a year or so, it's paid off.
Right.
Don't use that router. Okay. One, it's going to make the wireless music system more reliable. The system will be more expandable, and there's a variety of other things. So Ryan will be happy because everybody's telling you put that sucker away. All right. And now you can have your 2.4 and your 5 the same, and you'll get a much better thing. So don't use the router that comes from the cable company, and never, ever, ever use the Wi-Fi repeater. And we're halfway through this particular conversation we're having today when you're talking about reliable wireless distribution. So the next thing, Ryan, is there's different ways that these systems are distributing wireless music. Okay, some of them will use the backbone of your Luxul system, and that is the Wi-Fi that distributes to the particular modules, the receivers, the speakers in the house. Some companies, they have their own mesh network where all of their devices make their own Wi-Fi mesh network, and then they communicate that way. What are the pros and cons of both solutions?
Again, I'll kind of work backwards from, start with those kind of proprietary systems that use their own network. Generally speaking, those are, again, the reason they do it is because it's easy, because it makes things very easily discoverable. They automatically connect all to each other, right? And that's great for that reason. But again, now you have another frequency out there stomping all over the 2.4. They're all 2.4 as far as I know. And you don't need any more stuff stomping on the 2.4. You definitely, you got the microwaves, you've got your refrigerators, you've got your high-end coffee makers. Like, you could see some crazy stuff on that frequency. You don't need anything else stomping on that. So if you're using, the actual backbone, installing the right kind of network, right, for your for what you need, you are setting yourself up with, look, I have my 2.4, I have my 5 gig, and yes, there are going to be other outside interference factors. Why would I introduce another one if I don't have to, right?
You have your mesh, music network, your neighbor's mesh music
Yep.
network, the neighbor over here's mesh music network, with your microwave, with your TV,
Yep.
with and all of your 2.4 off your router.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
we don't. That's just not a recipe for reliability and success.
No, it's not what we want at all. Not at all.
Okay. In addition, so the cons of setting up your own system is you have to set up your own system.
Yep.
But the pros are you have a lot more control over how that interacts in the house.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, as you said, you know, when you're using something like a Helios system, right, and you're 2.4 or 5 gigahertz, well, the great thing about that is you get to, again, you set it up however you want to set it up with your Wi-Fi network. You give them, you know, the same name, different names, whatever you want to do. You give them the same name though. You let that Helios device discover, hey, where am I going to have a better signal? And it's going to connect where it's going to have a better signal, and it's going to generally stay there. Again, those devices, because basically staying still, you got a good 5 gig, great. You get more bandwidth. You're happy there, easy.
Exactly. So more control gives you, which means ensures you get more throughput,
Yep.
yeah, better
Yep.
coverage, and more control. Because if we talk about it, when we talk about wireless music distribution, you know, we're talking about, you know, there's the Titles of the world and there's Spotify of the world,
Right.
and Qbuzz and all those services. But we're also talking about distribution of high-res content from a NAS drive. So say you have a whole bunch of DSD files on a drive, or a whole bunch of 2496 files, or you could take a turntable, connect it to a Helios-enabled receiver, or integrated or network, and send that as a high-resolution source to the rest of the house. So we're not even talking about the stuff coming from the internet.
Yeah.
We're also talking about the stuff that's on your network, on your hard drives throughout your house. There's a lot of bandwidth that's required. And then you add on 4K streaming, and possibly in the future 8K streaming, you know, and all your kids on their iPads. The requirement for good networking is very good. The other thing to talk about is troubleshooting.
Yeah.
We, in our Helios devices, Tom, there's a way that you can check, like say all of a sudden the customer calls you and says that their bedroom is offline. What could they do with their app?
Yeah, so you could go into the app, you could search for it in your diagnostics tool. We also have another feature called co-browse, where one of our tech support guys could remote into the app and actually check settings for you. But you know, you can find out which channels are strongest, which interference is nearby from your neighbors. A lot of free apps offer troubleshooting tools, but the Helios app actually has a lot of that built in.
Yeah, so you can look at the app, and through the app you can see the signal strength of each device, what channel it's on, and everything else. Mm-hmm. The next thing is, if you have a third-party system, like a Luxul, you can use something like Domos.
Yep.
To check. So to explain what smart remote management allows you to do.
So obviously, you know, it's all about being efficient with your time, right? It's all about trying to do things in the most efficient manner that you can so that you save yourself time, you save yourself money, right? You're able to give your customers the best experience that they can have, right? In every facet. So, you know, remote management and monitoring has become critical to this. I mean, you have something like Domos built into Luxul routers, right? Not too much of a pitch.
Uh-huh. You can pitch it.
Yeah. There you go. So the idea there is, you know, that you have this system, right, that I have set up. Let's say it's, you know, it's on the other side of the city, okay? Now we're in Denver, Colorado right now. I happen to know Denver, Colorado, in recent times, traffic has gotten kind of insane.
You gotta roll a truck and you don't want to.
I don't want to roll a truck if I don't have to. So if my customer has a complaint or they have a request, hey, can you change my Wi-Fi password? Can you change this? Can you do something for me? There's a good chance with this system that I can log into their network from my office, from my couch. I'm comfy in my pajamas, whatever, I'm in
with
bed.
your smartphone.
Absolutely, with my phone, with my tablet. And I can log into this system as if I were on site and make the changes, push firmware updates to, you know, anything that's cloud-based that can do the firmware updates from the cloud. It's a huge benefit. You can save yourself an insane amount of time on the management and the monitoring of the network. And on top of it, you can use that as part of your business as this is a service I provide,
Yes.
right? That is something that you can do.
Exactly, and then think about it. So say you have 9 zones of HEOS in a room,
Yeah.
in a house. All of the AVRs, Denon and Marantz, are going to be shown. I can see those. And not only that, I can see all of the HEOS-enabled speakers and network players.
Yep.
So I get a call. The speaker in the bedroom is not playing. It won't play. I don't see it.
Yep.
I can log in using Domotz, and I can look, and I can see, because it appears on the network, that it has been offline for 3 or 4 days. And I can say, go check and see if it's plugged in.
Yep.
Right.
And then you plug it in, and magically, it appears. And you go, okay, problem solved. Have a nice day. You don't have to roll a truck.
Yep.
They call you and they say, I was watching wireless music, I'm playing 8 zones, and it's the Super Bowl and it's spotty. I can run a bandwidth check
Yep.
on their bandwidth speed, and I can see, oh, there's a huge dip in your internet coming into your house right now. Oh, and there's 9 kids playing with iPads. So it's not the system, you just don't have enough bandwidth to support what you need to do right now.
Yeah.
So tell the kids to get off the iPads
So you
and
can
call
watch the
the
Super Bowl.
so you can watch the
There you
Super Bowl
go.
and call the cable company and tell them you have a problem with your internet.
Yep.
I don't have to roll a truck.
Yeah.
So by having it, as having your music system or your wireless music distribution system as part of your, and having that incorporated into your network system, your Luxul network
Yep.
system, for example, I have a lot more flexibility for troubleshooting remotely.
Exactly.
You know, so I get more reliability, I get better coverage, and I have an easier time of troubleshooting any issues or problems.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's kind of something that I always saw as kind of a benefit, because I do it all the time. My wife calls me, and it's not working. I literally grab my phone, go to my Domotz, look at all my stuff,
Yeah.
and I can, half the time I can fix the problem.
Without even anything, yeah.
Oh, the receiver
Exactly.
won't turn on. I turn on and say, okay, I guess that one time the control system missed the power on. Let me turn it on. Or let me switch the input for you. You know, and I can just do it remotely from my phone,
Right.
using the SRM capabilities, smart road management capabilities,
Right.
on my Marantz AVR,
Yep.
using my Luxul router and my Domotz, and then I can troubleshoot if she says the zone in the kitchen isn't playing. On my HEOS 7, I can correct it 90% of the time. You can even cycle the power if you wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Using that thing because instead of their unplugging and plugging it in, you can do it remotely.
Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility that you can get, with intelligent power outlets or PDUs, IP controlled PDUs, and yeah, you plug in, you plug in, again, you plug in a modem to it, you plug in one of the players to it. Hey, let's restart it. You can log in and just restart it right there, reboot it right there easily.
Yeah.
Even if there is no of the back end information there.
Okay.
So-
Okay. A couple other questions. So everything's connected.
Yep.
Should I use static IPs, or what's do I have to?
Well, that depends. I mean, it depends on the device. What are you doing with this device? So your HEOS player, do you need to always know what IP address that's on? Because if you do, then you want to have it on static IP, so you always know it's on the same IP address. If you're using DHCP, so it's getting an automatic IP address from the router, it's a possibility that that IP address could change from time to time. And if you're trying to control that and you need the IP address for some kind of control purpose or anything, then you want it to be the same. Generally speaking, on something like, when you're talking about, an access point, a piece of network infrastructure that you want to get in and be able to manage it, right? Anything that you need to get into on the IP address and manage, you want a static IP so that you know where it is at all times, right? I'm sure Tom could back me up on this, that it's okay to let your phone not be on a static IP, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's some other things too, like if you look at Wi-Fi networks, there's always channels that are being used by everyone, and channels that are not.
Yeah.
So go in there and take the time. And I think you said there was somebody yesterday. Jared mentioned there's a couple of free apps you can get that you can basically sniff your Wi-Fi and see what channels are free or which ones have the least amount of traffic from you and your neighbors, and you can put your wireless music system on those channels.
Yeah, so just really simply, if you're an Android person and you want to use use your Android phone, your S8, S9, S10, whatever it is that you're using, you want to just go on your Play Store, look for a Wi-Fi analyzer by a company called FarProc, right? Pull that up. It gives you a ton of different capabilities. Not only can you measure your coverage, right? So kind of one of those tools that you can use to measure coverage, but also check all the channels and check channel utilization and all of that. If you're on iOS, if you're using an iPhone or an iPad or something like that, you're going to have to use a different tool. But actually, their airport utility, that you use to set up their Apple routers and all of that back in the day, but now that they're all gone, right? You can actually go into the settings of that and turn on scanning, and you can scan Wi-Fi from that as well. So same thing, you can get coverage and channel utilization and get all that information there for you. So
exactly. So you can use it to walk around and find out where there's good coverage and where there's bad coverage, where you should put where should you put an access point.
Yep.
You know, things like that.
Yeah,
you can almost use our app for that, because you can take a Heels One, a portable Heels One, and with the app, as you walk around the network, you can see the signal. And there's a minimum signal level, I think, that we recommend. Do you know what that? I can't remember what it is.
I think it was negative 60. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it's like negative 60.
That would
so you can walk around with
the
and use the Heels as kind of a, where's the farthest away you're going to put a Heels speaker.
Yeah.
And you can take that Heels speaker, put on network, take it to the farthest point, and open the app and see
what the signal strength
what
is.
the signal strength is.
So then you have your third option there, right? An easy to use app on your phone.
Exactly.
Right?
I can reach it with 2.4, but if you want the better quality and the less interference, you need to be on 2.5. To get there, you're going to need this access point, or you can walk around with your phone.
Yeah.
So and so you should always check your coverage.
Absolutely.
When you first walk in the house. One, it makes you like a professional. You're walking around checking the coverage and say, oh, that router that freaking Comcast gave you, that needs to go in the trash. It's not reaching the coverage. You need to get a better router, which Luxul, which is only sells it in the CI channel, is a great solution. And then let's talk about the access points you need for better coverage.
Of course, yeah.
And then also what channels you should utilize that aren't being used as much by your neighbors, means you get more reliability, because not everybody's stepping on everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's some things there that we want to talk about. What else? I'm trying to figure out what else did we talk about. Any other tips that you can probably provide?
I mean, just a couple things that we've kind of just touched on, of course. But I mean, like you said, you want to, and what we always say at Luxul is, you want to own the network, right? What you're talking about with, get rid of that Comcast router, get yourself your own, because I understand, oh, my client has a router. I get it, I know. Built by the lowest bidder, someplace that they buy for, $10 or whatever, and they lease it for $9 a month, right? When you own the network, it's not only, it's reliability, it's speed, it's coverage, it's also yours. You get to take full responsibility of that, and it's not, that if something's not working, you can get help, and we can help you out and work through that. Of course, we have our tech support and all of that there. So beyond that, of course, from a bandwidth perspective, as we've been talking about, coverage is going to be the number one thing in anything you do that's Wi-Fi. It doesn't matter what you're doing. From coverage, speed usually follows, or bandwidth generally follows.
Yes.
Right.
And the last thing, the most reliable wireless is a wire. So if you can run a wire to it, run a wire to it.
Yes,
and Tom
please.
will be happy, and he will be
I'll be
happy.
happy.
Get a nice switch, put it in there, run wire. The wireless is the last resort.
Yeah.
So first, run a wire. Next, don't use a router that they got from Comcast. Next thing, make sure you have enough coverage. If you do those three things, Tom would probably get half the phone calls, because that's the first thing he's going to ask you and tell you to do if you call him. And Tom, tell him about your lab. What do you have in that lab again?
Yeah, so in our lab, of course, we have all of our products, this year's models, last year's models, but we also go out and buy, third-party products. We have routers from AT&T, Comcast, Fios, and then we have Luxul. We have a bunch of other, CI brand routers and network gear as well. So if someone has a problem, we could test it within a few minutes and maybe replicate a problem or not, or
Yes.
you know.
So Tom has a buddy, Mike, and Mike normally comes, but Mike can't come because Mike has to be there to answer your phone calls because your jobs are still going even though CEDIA is happening.
Right.
So if there's a problem, we realize at Sound United that that part of we want to make great products, but we also have to make sure that we're a good partner. So not only do we have all these great Denon and Marantz products, we try to give you the support that you need as a CI or a custom integrator to get the job done. Because if you have a problem, you want to fix it now. Because every hour you're in there troubleshooting a problem is revenue that is lost. So we try to have all the stuff in our lab that we can replicate what those problems are for the dealers, so we can actually fix it. So there's a number that's for CI.
Yeah, we have,
what's that number again?
It's 201-762-6532. Option 2 is for HEOS and networking. Option 1 is for AVR. Again, that's 201-762-6532.
Yes, and a big thing about that number is we have support for consumer. This is not consumer report.
Just for
this
dealers
is for
and
this is
installers.
only
Right.
for install and only for CI. So because we realize you need to support, part of this job is the connections, and and making sure that it's reliable and providing tips and solutions. So any other tips you can think of, Tom, when he talks about HEOS?
Like he said, the best thing is to own the network and educate your customer that a router is almost like an AVR or a speaker. There's okay ones, good, better, and best, and a lot of customers may not understand that a router is maybe the most important part of the house nowadays.
Exactly.
Because everything's on the network,
Yeah.
and you don't want a cheap one.
Yeah, when your internet goes down in your house, when internet goes down in my house, it might as well be the apocalypse. The kids' tablets don't work, the wife can't do email, I can't stream my Hulu. Oh my God, it's the worst thing in the world. Even if the power goes out, I have my phone.
Yeah.
And I can hotspot to my tablet. If you have no internet, the world comes to an end for many consumers, and they want that fixed not tomorrow. They want that fixed right now.
Right now, yeah, exactly. Well, it's interesting, that with owning the network, of course, there's the cost and the homeowner, I have a router, I don't want to buy another one. Mm-hmm. So a friend of mine in the industry was going through what people spend on entertainment in a year, and just adding up generally what people have, right? They have, cable TV, they have internet, they might rent or buy a movie once in a while. With that, it's, what we kind of come up with is the average family in the US anyway, is probably spending $6,000 to $12,000 a year on entertainment.
Yes.
Per year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, trusting all of that to your $10 a month Comcast modem router, it's not a good look.
It's not a good look. Exactly. And like I said, feel free to come into the Sound United booth for 3108. We, like Sound United, through Denon and Marantz and our other brands, we have lots of different solutions. You want to retrofit high-res audio? We have a variety of network players. Simple little HEOS link that you can take an old 4-channel amplifier and retrofit it to multi-channel. We have super links that are rack mountable. We have network players from Denon and network players from Marantz for different levels that you can add high-res streaming, high-quality, uncompressed digital files from a desktop to the nicest old Mark Levinson or Class A system in your den. So we have solutions like that. We have AVRs, but most of our AVRs, except for maybe one model, have full high-res networking capability. We also have 2-channel integrated, because people were asking they asked us for a Wi-Fi enabled amplifier, but then they wanted FM. And then they wanted multiple inputs, and then they wanted a funnel input, and then they want to connect it to their TV. So we have those. So now we launched a new DRA 800 Denon and a NA 1200 Marantz that is a 2-channel network-enabled receiver for those people who do not need the other channels of amplification. So we have a variety of ways for you to get multi-zone, high-res music into using components you already have or all new components. But if you have all these zones, 16, 12, 9 zones, you still need bandwidth coverage, right?
Right.
And you want reliability. So make sure to use products from a good company like Luxul. So where's your booth located?
So we are booth 905. All right. We're in the Legrand AV booth. Of course, those 9 brands kind of coming together, and so we're over booth 905, right towards the front of the show. Please come on over. I think we still have some T-shirts left to give out. If you guys haven't seen our famous Luxul T-shirts, I'll get you one, Phil. I actually got one on reserve for you.
Don't give me a medium. I don't look like Baby Huey. Give me a big one, all right?
Give me your size. I will get you
the
one.
The largest one you have.
Guaranteed. There you go. I got you, Phil. I got you.
All right. So thank you guys very much. Hopefully you guys have learned something from this discussion. And take care, and I will talk to you soon.